Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's about 2 weeks until Valentine's Day, so I figured we'd make some heart-shaped cookies dipped in chocolate. They're super easy and delicious. They make a cute gift for friends or family, but if you eat them all yourself, I won't judge you either. So let's get going. So the hair is going up because nobody wants a hair in their cookie dough. That's for sure. So I went ahead and got all my ingredients out. You're gonna need 1.5 cups of butter, and this does need to be softened, so go and get that out of your fridge if you're gonna cook along with me. You need 2 cups of sugar, 4 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 5 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of salt. So the sugar cookie recipe that we're using today does make quite a lot of cookies. If you don't really want that many, you can just go ahead and cut the measurements I use in half, and I will go ahead and give you those measurements on the screen below as we go along. Alright, so we're going to add our 1.5 cups of softened butter and our 2 cups of sugar. And you're going to cream it together. So while the butter and sugar is creaming together, I'm going to get our dry ingredients ready. So I'm adding in our 5 cups of flour, our 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And the salt is going to balance out the sweetness of the cookie. Alright, so our butter and sugar mixture is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and add in our 4 eggs. And if you're not confident cracking the egg directly into the mixing bowl, crack it into a separate bowl just in case you get any eggshell. You don't ruin your entire mixture, you just need a new egg. And then our teaspoon of vanilla. And mix. So now we're going to add in our dry ingredients that we prepared earlier. And I normally do this in a couple different batches. Alright, so now you have your dough. Okay, so now you're just gonna get some plastic wrap and lay it out. And take your batter and put it right in the center. And you're just going to fold the corners in. And then I just like to shape it into a nice little ball or disc so it's easier to roll out later. So really quickly, I do want to mention that I actually broke my dough up into 2 separate discs here, just because I don't really want to bake that many cookies today. So the other half of the dough, I'll bring out whenever I'm ready to bake it. I'll let it thaw for about an hour before I roll it out. So now the cookie dough goes into the fridge for at least an hour. This is so the butter actually starts to solidify again. It's easier to roll out that way, and when it's cooking in the oven, your shape won't spread out as much. So I'm going to use that hour it's in the fridge to clean up because it's a mess in here, and also clean up myself because I'm wearing all black for some reason, and I didn't put on one of my millions of aprons. Can't tell you why. The hour's almost up, so I went ahead and made sure that the counter area where I want to roll out my dough is completely clean and chemical free. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven to 400 degrees. So what you need at this point is a rolling pin, your cookie cutters. I have a regular heart one and then one with little ridged edges. You want to keep your flour out to flour your surface, and then a small bowl of flour, and this is just to put these in to coat them as we cut. So make sure those fit in your bowl. And then also a spatula. This one I got, I think, for like $8 at Bed Bath & Beyond or maybe Target, and it works wonderfully. But if you just have a regular spatula, that'll work too. Then I lined 2 cookie sheets with parchment paper. You can also use foil if you don't have parchment paper, but I like to do 2 separate ones so I can cut my cookies, put this in the oven, and continue cutting cookies, and then just kind of swap them out. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap the dough to sprinkle the surface with some flour, as well as put some flour on the rolling pin. So now I'm just rolling out my dough, and when doing so I try and keep it in a circle as much as possible. So we have our dough rolled out, and I'm just going to dip these into flour and coat the bottom. This is going to make it so the dough does not stick to the cookie cutter. Give it a little jiggle. And you can cut these into any shape that you want. We're just doing hearts because it's Valentine's Day. I may actually use the other half of the dough and create football cookies because our friends volunteered us to throw a Super Bowl party. So now our first batch goes in the oven for 6 to 8 minutes. I'm gonna set it for 6 minutes so I can check on them, and I will go ahead and continue rolling out my scraps to make some more cookies. All right, taking these babies out and putting new ones in. Once your cookies are out, you're going to want to put them almost directly onto a cooling rack. So I decided that 8 minutes was the best cooking time. You guys can kind of see how there's slight brown edges. That's what I wanted because I don't want them to be too soft or they won't hold up when I dip them in chocolate. So we have our cookies cooling over here, and I'm going to get our chocolate ready. You could just melt chocolate chips and some shortening together, but I chose to use these Wilton candy melts because they're just super easy to use and they come in fun different colors. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can dip it, spoon it on, or you could take it, drag it, and kind of lean it forward. I like to get half of the cookie. I think it looks really nice that way. Shake off the excess. So now I'm going to melt some pink ones. So now I'm going to take this melted pink chocolate and put it into a bag. You can use a piping bag, or if you don't have any, you can just use a Ziploc like I am doing now. So make sure that the chocolate isn't too hot or you'll burn your hand or melt the bag. Then you're just going to take scissors and cut the tiniest bit off of the end. there you have it. We have heart-shaped cookies dipped in chocolate. I'll go ahead and insert the recipe here if you would like to screenshot it, or if you're like me, go ahead and rewind and bake along with me. And don't forget guys, we did do the simple version of the recipe today, but you can always switch it up and play with the colors or the shapes of the cookie. You can add some sprinkles or toppings to it, and it would be really good with snickerdoodle or even chocolate chip cookie dough. I'm gonna have to give that a shot for sure. Go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. It really does help my channel, and comment down below which combination or flavor of the cookie you decide to do. Have a wonderful day, guys.